Hey everybody, let's have some fun today, right? I want to talk about the order of returns with this. When I say fun, fun with spreadsheets and numbers and all that good stuff that I enjoy playing with. Look, order of returns is so incredibly important for everybody as they head into retirement. Understanding the effect of the order of returns. This explains why more stable portfolios perform better when we're in those withdrawal years. It's so important that we see this. So the reason this is going to be fun, I'm going to do it a little different. I'm going to go to the next page and it's blank. There's nothing on there. Let's create this as on the fly here. So I'm going to pull my spreadsheet up. I'm going to start with some assumptions, okay? The Morningstar study just came out. Every single year they do a revised statistical study on withdrawal rates. And you know, that 4% withdrawal rate is back. It was 3.8 last year. I'm sure everybody knew this, but they debunked the 4% withdrawal rate. It's been under 4% ever since we went through that combination of 9/11 and 2008. That the volatility in there broke the 4% withdrawal rate, and then we've been fairly volatile since then. We've hit new records on volatility. So what am I getting at? Well, look, we have to understand the difference between averaging a number and the actual return. So an average return versus an actual return. So I'm going to start with some really basic assumptions. These are the assumptions that were used by a prolific writer out there that so eloquently talked about this order of returns and how it's relevant to people by messing with really smart people. All right, so inflation, look back 30 years, average inflation is only about 3%. That's 30 years we've averaged 3%, okay? 30-year average, 10% on the stock market. We've averaged 10%. Okay, I'll go with that number. That's fine. I'm somewhat disagree. I only like using the modern years when we digitize the stock market, when we can hit a button and sell everything without calling our brokers. But okay, we'll go with 10%. And then the bond market has averaged 5%. Okay, so we're going to do this. We're just picking some round numbers, all right? So 3% inflation, 10% stock market return, 5% bond market return, $1 million in savings, okay? And this reporter decided to prove that he could do a 6% withdrawal, 6.6% withdrawal rate with a 60-40 portfolio, 60% in the stock market and 40% in the bond market. Now, I will tell you, you can go watch my video on the 4% withdrawal rate, but every statistician out there pushes everybody to go the opposite, go 40% stock market, 60% in safe, stable investments, especially right now when we've got really good safe investments out there. So, but in this case, 60% stocks, 40% bonds, and we want to retire for 30 years. So we set it up, got 600,000 in the stock market, 400,000 in the bond market. We got our $1 million earning 8% on average with a 6.6% withdrawal rate. Okay, so the 6.6 withdrawal rate gets bigger every year because the way that 4% withdrawal rule that he was debunking, the way it works is you take that initial withdrawal rate and then you increase it to inflation. So that inflation number that I put up there, the average inflation was 3.3%. So there it is, growing at 3.3%. We're pulling out a little more every year. Okay. Well, as you know, if we earn 8% but only pull out 6.6%, our portfolio is going to grow. And there it is, growing, 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 until we hit an inflection point right in here. And all of a sudden, instead of growing, we start taking out more than we're earning because the 3% inflation has now outstripped that 8% earning. Our withdrawal rate is over 8%. And that's the top here, right? Here's the value of your portfolio. You hit that inflection point and holy cow, you could ski off that. I don't even know if you could ski it. You could tumble down that hill, not ski off of it. This is a cliff. Okay. This happens very quickly. When you hit that inflection point and you're still withdrawing those big withdrawals, it is going to fall apart. Okay. And there it does. You get all the way to your 30 years and you die broke. That's the way you wanted it. It worked out perfect, right? In this perfect little world that you can control your earnings, you're averaging 10%, but in this illustration, you're actually earning 10%, aren't you? So I want to show you something. We started this with, well, what does this have to do with order of returns, right? Well, let's look at this. Order of returns. It matters. Well, kind of, right? We're withdrawing all this money. So what happens if I just make this 0, 0, 0, and I make up for it down here? Maybe right in here, I'll put 20, 20, 20. What on earth happened here? Remember that nice little growth we had? Well, we disappeared that growth and we just fell apart fast. And there we are running out of money in year 23. Okay. We essentially have the same returns. I mean, I added the 10% down here. We still earned those 10%. So if I go back to, let's say, 10% here, 10%, you see that now all of a sudden we're rearranging it back to the way we had it, and our money lasts longer if we just earn 10% every year. But if we go 0 here, and maybe 0 here, and maybe 0 here, and 0 here, and then we add 20 and 20, 20, another 20. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I'll put more 20s in there. 20, 20. It doesn't matter. It's not saving you at all. You lost your money. It's done and gone. And that's without even a negative. That's just putting a couple zeros in there. This is so important for us to understand. And it's so scary that the order of returns matters most when we withdraw. It doesn't matter as much when we're depositing. It matters most when we withdraw. This is the scary part. We can't control the returns that we have coming into our portfolio, especially after we retire, right? And so what we've discovered that is more stable, predictable portfolios produce much better results. We can't predict the order of returns. So let's go to reality. Let's look at reality. Here's the last 30 years. Here's the actual inflation numbers for the last 30 years, right here. Okay. Actual inflation, actual portfolio returns. This is 30 years in the S&P 500. Yes, with dividends, not relevant. You can audit this all you want. It's not relevant. The conversation is about the order of returns. The Barclay Bond Index has been around for 20 or 30 years. So there's the Barclay Bond Index returns. This is reality. This is what it really did. It wasn't such a beautiful portfolio. But notice back in the late 90s, the market just skyrocketed right here. We got 34%, we got 20%, we got 31%, we got 27%, we got 20%. Look at your portfolio, it rocketed. You went from $1 million to $1.6 million. Your withdrawal rate got smaller and smaller and smaller because your portfolio got bigger and bigger and bigger. Even though you were growing your withdrawal rate by the inflation number, the growth in the portfolio far outstripped that withdrawal rate. So now you get all the way up here and you got a much smaller withdrawal rate. And the smaller your withdrawal rate, the less the effect of volatility. But at some point you hit that inflection point, it starts shrinking, you hit some turbulence and it falls apart. But hey, look, you made it. You got to pull out all this money. You started at 6.6% withdrawal rate and grew it by inflation every single year. That's pretty successful portfolio. No matter how fun this ride was, you made it 30 years on a much higher than 4% withdrawal rate. That withdrawal rate then kept up with inflation as well. So history proves 60% in the stock market, 40% in the bond market. You can start at a 6.6 withdrawal rate, right? I mean, Why not? Why couldn't you? I just proved that it worked. It worked. Not a problem. But the order of returns matters, right? I want to do one little thing. I'm going to change one return, 1 year. And only 60% of your portfolio is affected by this one tiny little change. And I want you to see how drastically it changes this. I'm simply going to make this year a negative. Enter. And now all of a sudden your portfolio fell apart halfway through this. So it fell apart right here. All right. So just because it worked doesn't mean it will work in the future. One tiny little change. Every other one is exactly the same. I only changed one. You hit turbulence in the beginning. It killed all that growth. Boom, you're done. It falls apart. You hit the inflection point immediately, and it makes your portfolio fall apart. We have to understand that. The order of returns drastically changes, even with one tiny little tweak in the order of returns, and boom, your results are polar opposite. To further this, what if I just went backwards, the order of returns? So instead of going from 1993 to 2022, I'm going to go from 2022 back to 1993. So I'm going to use the Barclay Bond Index in reverse, the S&P 500 in reverse, and even inflation in reverse. And look what happened. It's the exact same returns without my little tweak. There's your positive 34 down there. It doesn't matter. Your portfolio fell apart by year 18 or 19. You were out, done, broke. The order of returns matters because these are the exact same returns as this one that worked. They're just in the opposite order. Okay? We can play with these spreadsheets all we want, but you have to understand that if you don't have good returns in the first couple of years of your withdrawals, and you don't say, I got more money, I'm going to increase my withdrawal rate, or I'm going to recalculate my 4% withdrawal rate every year. That's not how this works. You start with your withdrawal rate, which is supposed to be more like 4%. You increase it to inflation every year. We know the market doesn't earn 10% every year. We know the bond market is not going to give you 5% every year. It's going to look more like this, where sometimes you're making double digits and sometimes you're losing money. Okay? We know the bond market hurt you in 2022. We do understand that some safe investments, not all of them, but some safe investments aren't exactly safe. They do come with fees. They do come with risk. As interest rates rise, which they didn't in the last 30 years, they only came down in the last 30 years until the last couple of years. I mean, we had a couple of rising of interest rates. You had 1994 was a tough year. 99 when this is the dot bomb boom, you know, the bust there. We had 9/11 that occurred, so we slammed interest rates down after 9/11. That's why you had good returns in the bond market. So we can't predict this order of returns, right? You can't just take an average here and assume that that's how your portfolio is going to work. The order of returns matters so much that if I tweak one number out of 60, right? I had 60 different numbers here. Even if I make this, even if I make this 50-50, so equal shares, 50-50, right there, I have 60 different returns here. I can change one of these numbers out of 60. If your future changes by one number, it throws everything off. The order of returns matters. That's why anybody that tries to do some type of analysis 30 years into the future, whether it's Monte Carlos or any other spreadsheets, they don't mean anything. I can change one number on here. Here, I changed that one last time. I'll change this one this time. I'll just make this one a negative. It doesn't matter which one I change. Boom. If you change it, if you have one bad year, one big bad year early on, you're done. A portfolio, you have to adjust your withdrawal rate. You have to lean more on safe investments. That's why you get recommended. If you're going to have a withdrawal rate over 3%, You've got to lean on safe investments. And I got news for you right now. The way the world is, safe investments are better than we've seen in 30 years. You can get 6% from your safe investments. Perfectly easy, no risk, no fees, safe 6% out there available right now. So instead of bonds, just call this safe. So now when interest rates go up and down and up and down, you're not affected by it. You're going to sit there and earn 6%. Now you can tell me, okay, I want to pull a 6% withdrawal rate and I want to have none of my money in the market and 100% of it. Okay, well, that works. And my point for saying this is, let's say you've got 10 years before you're going to, I increased to inflation there. But let's not increase to inflation. Let's do a 0 inflation on this. And then it works in perpetuity forever. But my point for doing that is very simple. I meet a lot of people in different situations. And, maybe somebody wants to retire at 60, but doesn't want to take Social Security till 70. And they're nervous. They're scared. They got a great amount of savings. But, relying 100% on your savings to pay everything for 10 years, that's scary. But they built their wealth in the stock market. Well, fine, but you're retiring in a time where you have 6% available to you out there, and 6% of your portfolio, maybe it's $2 million that you have in savings and you're heading off into retirement. Oops. Then of course you can pull as much as you want out of there. Oops, wrong one. 2 million. There we go, I think. No. Oh, it's up here. I had it. Wonders of spreadsheets. Got to find where you got the numbers at. So $2 million, then we can pull 120,000 a year. And I actually have met a handful of people in the last couple of weeks that are in these situations where they want to retire, but they're nervous about living 100% off their portfolio. Well, if you can guarantee 6% for 10 years with 0 risk, fine. After that, take your Social Security, throw it all in the market. Everybody's happy. The world doesn't say you have to have a 60-40 portfolio, a 50-50, whatever. No, you want to go enjoy yourself. You don't want to have to worry about things. There are plenty of ways to bridge the gap. I'm not telling you to put 100% in a fixed interest rate type investment, but I'm simply saying think outside the box. Solve your own problems. When people were retiring from the Great Depression, the World War II generation, they all just laddered CDs and they were perfectly happy, although they didn't like spending their money. But vast majority of them just laddered their CDs and lived off the interest. And the amount of money that I see in a lot of people's portfolios and how nervous they are about the market, we completely lost our way because we haven't seen interest rates like this in so long. So we do need to consider it in some people's cases. Not everybody, but a lot of people, vast majority of people can and should have lots of money in the stock market, even in through retirement, even in through withdrawal. The order of return matters. So if you need your money, lean on a more stable portfolio so we're not relying on big turbulence to go good or completely the opposite direction bad. You get some great years in the beginning, your portfolio might work out great. You hit a few potholes in the beginning, your portfolio might fall apart quickly. And we don't like that uncertainty. So don't think about this in the way that, oh, well, somebody said I had to have a 50-50 or 60-40 or 40-60 portfolio. That's not how this world works. You have to serve your own needs. Utilize the tools that are available out there, okay? And just the overgeneralization of a 4% withdrawal rate seems ridiculous to me. Some people can pull 6%. Everybody's in different situations, but you got to be careful about that order of returns, and volatility is your enemy, the bigger your withdrawal rate. All right, I hope that helps. The order of returns, it matters. It's strange how much it matters. It's amazing how sensitive any projection is just by changing one number on there. All right. So hopefully that helped. I've done this a few different ways. There's plenty of other videos that touch on this order of returns, but I wanted to do this one just by playing with the numbers off the cuff, as they say. So I hope you enjoyed it. Come back for more. If you didn't get it from this video, there's a few more videos out there. And I did just do a video on that 4% withdrawal rate as well. Shoot us an email, give us a call, comment below. Yes, you can audit all those returns, but that's not the point of this. It's understanding the relationship of those returns and the performance of the portfolio. So hopefully we stick to the greater meaning of this, and I'm always happy to help. Give us a call, shoot us an email, and subscribe to the channel. You got new videos every week. All right, everybody, have a great one. Thank you very much. We'll see you next time.